Good morning. Hey, those blue skies outside are smiling at me, and nothing but bluebirds do I see. I love Doris Day songs, and we are really glad to have you with us here on our Bluebird Facebook Live. We have some exciting things to share, some really fun educational events that are coming up at Bluebird Quilt Studio. We're bringing national educators in. We'll be telling you more about that event this morning in our Facebook Live. We'll also be mentioning some fun new challenges with batiks and fun new batiks that are Idaho, all about Idaho. We also have information about the Quilters Trek 2023 if you're traveling this summer, and a preview, a sneak peek of our Bluebird Quilters Trek block, formerly known as Row by Row. And then finally, we're going to talk about some tips for sewing those angled blocks. So pointy triangles or pointy diamonds, how you can better tackle those and have more success with them. So we hope that you will find this fun and exciting, and we are really looking forward to seeing you here at Bluebird Quilt Studio. So let's dive right in. We are super excited to be offering some world-class handy quilter education here at the end of the month. Barb Tatera and Lana Russell will be joining us at the end of this month for a handy quilter hands-on event at the Holiday Inn. We're going to kick off that event with an evening game night. So regardless of what is going on in your quilting experience, you'll want to be a part of that. Lana and Barb are going to be sharing some of their best quilty tips through a fun game night. Of course there'll be prizes, and of course there'll be good things to eat, because hello, it's a Bluebird Quilt Studio event and you gotta eat and quilt. So that will be at the Holiday Inn here in Nampa, near Target, near the Costco complex out there, just off of the freeway. So at 7 o'clock, Holiday Inn on Tuesday, May 30th. The game night kicks off at 7, and it'll be about 7 to 8:30, and that'll give us plenty of time for a fun presentation with Barb and Lana, sharing their best quilty tips, our game night, and also time to eat some cheesecake. So we really want to extend that to you. Tickets for that event are $15, but we are running a little special for $10. You can join us for that night. I promise you'll have a great time. The next day though, so Wednesday and Thursday of that week, so that's May 31st and June 1st, we'll kick off our 2-day educational event where we'll have hands-on education with Barb and Lana. It's going to be double the fun because there's 2 national educators with us. You'll have great instruction on how to approach quilting your own quilts. So if you've been toying with the idea of, gosh, I wish I could finish my own quilts, or maybe you've been frustrated with, I hate wrangling my quilts underneath that 9-inch throat Bernina, which is where I was when I began long arm quilting. So if you are tired of wrangling your quilt under a domestic machine, you're going to have a lot of fun playing in this lovely pool of beautiful Amara handy quilter long arms with pro stitchers. The first day again will be some basic stitching and free motion work, and then the second day we'll dive into some digital quilting with our Pro Stitcher program. So if you can push a button, you can quilt a quilt. So we'll be talking about how you can quilt with digital quilting programs. And in the afternoon, we'll finish up with some ruler work. So for those of you who like to have a little bit more hands-on touch on your quilts, you can use rulers to create some beautiful quilting designs. So the 2-day workshop will be the 31st and the 1st, or the 2nd and the 3rd of June. So we invite you to be a part of that. We do have a special pricing being offered as a Mother's Day special for our customers, and we look forward to seeing you at that education event. It will be fun, and we will have a great educational experience, and you can find out more by calling us here at the studio and registering for that event. So join us for the Handy Quilter event. We also have some fantastic show pricing through Mother's Day on our Handy Quilter machines, as well as at that event. So don't miss out on some great pricing, including some gently used demo machines. So if you've been toying with the idea of maybe having a long arm in your quilting studio, May is a great time to make that happen. We'd love to help you with that. The next thing on our list here is we're going to talk a little bit about batiks. We love batiks. We've always loved batiks here at Bluebird, and we've got some fun batiks that we're offering. Something that's kicking off today in our studio at 10 o'clock. You can hop in your car and join us if you'd like to. We're having a little Hoffman Challenge Club. So this year is the Hoffman 100-Year Challenge, and look at this collection of beautiful blue batiks. Of course we had to dive into that one. So dive into these, sort of like an ocean here. I think these would be a good collection to dive into. So this is a special challenge here that you can participate in, or you can just use this beautiful collection and join us for some fun camaraderie, creating some unique quilts. We'll be meeting here at 10 o'clock today to kick off our Hoffman Club Challenge, meeting to design and participate in the Hoffman Challenge. If you'd like more information, pop on in and we'll get you a collection of fat quarters and you can join us for that. We do have these materials on the bolt as well. Gorgeous collection from Hoffman. Also on the batik front, Bluebird has, here it is, Bluebird has, we've designed a bluebird for representing our beautiful state bird, and it has the word Idaho in it, with batiks from Hoffman. They're being manufactured by Hoffman as we speak. We are going to be offering the aquatic colorway, a slightly different version of this multi-print. It's going to have a little more yellow in it, and we'll be offering this pastel and this meadow option. So that's available for pre-order now. It will be available in the fall, possibly as early as August. So we invite you to come in to see the proofs of these gorgeous batiks from Hoffman, available only here at Bluebird. So super excited about that. So more to come about that in upcoming Facebook Lives. Along the theme of those batiks, I always love using batiks in my quilts, and I hope some of you do as well. So this particular project right here represents, once again, the mighty bluebird. It's a symbol of happiness. It's a symbol for me. I love bluebirds and always have. This represents our state bird and state flower, and a mountain scene here in a mountain meadow with some lupin and some Indian paintbrush. So we've got the summer sun coming your way. So this particular project is going to be offered in conjunction with a promotion that was formerly called Row by Row. It's now called Quilters Trek. So Quilters Trek 2023 is kicking off June 1st, so that's coming your way, and you can find out more information by Googling Quilters Trek 2023. There will be quilt shops across the country that will be offering a unique row pattern that you can stitch out and participate in some prizes if you would like to join the challenge there. It is across the United States and actually Canada. So if you're going to be doing some traveling anyway, they're fun to collect. They represent the different areas that they're coming, that these quilt shops are living in, working in. And this is going to be our block. And in this block are some pointy little diamond shapes here. So as I was stitching out this block, I thought this might be a great topic for a little Facebook Live on how you can piece with pointy shapes, like pointy triangles and pointy non-traditional shapes, and how you can keep things squared up and easy when you're quilting. We all like easy tools. So just to show you some other blocks that also use this 60-degree diamond that I used here. Okay, there are some pointy shapes in here. Technically, well, some of those are 60-degree triangles. This is also a 60-degree triangle project. And depending on the project that you choose with these triangles, there can be increasing levels of challenge. This particular quilt is actually much easier to stitch than most people might realize. These, the fabric is stacked, and then these triangle shapes are stitched, but they're stitched together in long rows. And this goes together quite quickly. The pieces are large. It's a great project. And there's a variety of fabrics and kits that we have available with these fun border prints that just make a gorgeous kaleidoscopic pattern. So just to help you out with some of those things, when you're piecing these kinds of pointy blocks, oftentimes it's really helpful when you're cutting these blocks to use a ruler. So there are specialty rulers that are available for a lot of these different shapes. But as I was working on this particular quilt and squaring up some blocks, I just took a gander at my ruler collection, and I went, I wonder how many of my rulers actually have these 60 degrees on them, and how many times have I duplicated this? So just thinking that you might have rulers already in your stash. So a traditional Creative Grids ruler typically has, so a 6 by 24 inch ruler typically has on it not only the horizontal and vertical markings, but oftentimes there's a 45-degree angle and a 30-degree angle and a 60-degree angle. So if you have a 60-degree angle already on your ruler, you can use that as a tool, okay? It's not quite as handy as some of these specialty rulers, and I'll show you why here in just a minute, but I'm just saying that you don't necessarily have to go all out and buy a specialty ruler. So this particular ruler, this one is a Jenny Beyer Perfect Cut 60-degree diamond ruler. This is the one I actually used when I made the block. But again, I went surfing through my stash just to see what other 60-degree angles I had in my stash. Those of you that collect the Jaybird quilts rulers, the Sidekick and the Super Sidekick, those are based on 60-degree triangles. You could use a ruler like this. That would work. Here is a non-slip Creative Grids 60-degree diamond ruler. So that one would work. and even this clear view triangle ruler. So I've duplicated my rulers, and oftentimes I think sometimes when we're shopping for things, we kind of go on overkill and go, gotta have that ruler, because we do know that it makes it easier. Okay, why does it make it easier? Oh, by the way, the quilt that's behind me here, there are some specialty shapes in this particular quilt. Okay, so my brother, who is all about 3D printing, I gave him the pattern and I said, make me some 3D templates. So I handed him the pattern and he made a 3D template. So if you have a cutter of some kind, you know, honestly, I think you could probably get away with doing this with something like a Cricut or a Silhouette or something like that, with a sturdy material. Or you know somebody that has a laser cutter or a 3D printer, you could have them print out templates for you. Okay, so in any event, regardless of what shape you have, the best rulers for these kinds of pointy shapes have what we call engineered corners. So if you can see this ruler shape right here, the tip of it has been cut off. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to line the shapes. So let me show you how that would work. So if you had a strip of fabric, okay, so if I was going to make a diamond shape, for example, have a strip of fabric, this happens to be 4 inches wide. So you cut that strip of fabric 4 inches wide, okay, and then you lay your ruler on it, okay, lining it up with one of the sides here, and you cut off the angle, okay. After you have it cut off, then you'll flip the ruler, okay, and I always have to do a little contortion in order to be able to visualize this. And whatever the width of the strip is, that's the width of your diamond that you're going to line up. And you would line up that shape on your strip and go ahead and cut right down here, okay? But after you have got your diamond shape cut, so here's your diamond shape. After you've got your diamond shape, if you take the engineered corner off the end of each one of the diamonds by aligning it on your ruler and using your rotary cutter, trim off those ends, and you'd need to do it on both sides, okay? If you trim off the ends, the beauty is, if I was going to piece these two diamond blocks together, okay, and I overlay them, so I would put these right sides together like this. When you get, and I'm going to stitch down this seam so that when I open it out, I have a row essentially, okay? Those engineered corners line up perfectly. And that is why engineered corners are really important and really up your game when you're doing this. Those little tips of these pointy triangles end up getting caught down in your feed dogs when you're stitching, and it makes things messy. So you don't want to mess with that. The other thing that's helpful, of course, is grabbing hold of your thread when you're first starting so that you can give it a little nudge as it comes through. A stylus to, or an awl to feed your fabric through your feed dogs as it's entering and getting stitched is also super helpful. But all of those little tips are going to be helpful, because when you stitch this, you're going to end up with quite a lot of bulk at the points, particularly if you don't have engineered corners. It is really recommended when you're doing these types of blocks to tighten up your stitch a little bit. So typically, most people stitch with a 2.5 inch stitch length. I usually bump it down to 2 when I'm stitching anyway, but especially with things like this, go down to a 2. And when you go to your pressing station, open up that seam and press these flat so that when all of those points come together, you don't have extra bulk in your where these angles meet, and it will create a much flatter seam and make your life much easier when you're stitching these together. The last thing, oftentimes this type of quilt is sewn in diagonal rows rather than in horizontal rows. So for example, when I was stitching this particular one, I stitched it diagonally like this, okay? And then put the rows together that way. One last tip, okay? Because of the nature of these kinds of blocks, oftentimes you end up with these really, really skinny blocks, okay, on the ends, right? Okay, like this one right here. My trick is I just make the block the regular size and then I trim it down. So I would much rather have a large piece of fabric than a bias seam out there on the edge and deal with the wonkiness. I don't want that when I'm piecing. So that's my last little pointer there. So I am sure that there are people that are much more adept at these types of quilting techniques than myself. But those are the things that for someone who loves the look of these angles and loves to quilt and for the joy of quilting, not necessarily for the uber challenge of it, I really think those tips might make your life a little easier. So in the hopes that you will come join us for either the 2023 row by row Quilters Trek Challenge, or maybe the Double the Fun education event, or the game night on Tuesday, May 30th at the Holiday Inn here in Nampa. We just want to invite you to pop on into Bluebird Quilt Studio, and thanks for joining us this morning. Have a great day. Enjoy that sunshine.